Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Badger Report. I'm Owen Desai.
And I'm Lilly Price. This week has brought a lot of change, both at home and across the country, and we're going to break it down in the next 30 minutes. Coming up, we're looking into the farming industry to see what farmers are doing to stay afloat in tough economic conditions.
And later, a former Badger reads from his new book and talks about his transition from running to writing.
But first, we're talking about the 8 lame duck proposals and what they mean for Wisconsin's government now and in the future. All this and more coming up on the Badger Report.
From Vilas Hall, on the UW-Madison campus, this is the Badger Report.
Legislation that would slash the power of the governor-elect and the attorney general-elect is sitting on Governor Scott Walker's desk today.
Wisconsin Republicans took 2 days to work through lame duck legislation protecting Republican interests and making it harder for Governor-elect Tony Evers to pursue his campaign promises. Republicans debated overnight Tuesday, and despite protests by the public and Democrats, passed the package in the Senate. The Assembly approved it a couple hours later, and the legislation went to Walker's desk.
We're joined by the Badger Report's Taylor Palmby, who's here to tell us about the bills. Taylor, what are these bills about?
Well, Owen, that's a loaded question. Some of the bills were approved and some were not advanced. Some of the changes we can see are limits to early voting, where voters can go to the polls no more than 2 weeks before an election. Another bill would require that a legislative committee, not the Attorney General's office, will decide whether they'll pursue federal lawsuits. This one especially affects Evers and Call, who made campaign promises to withdraw from a multi-state lawsuit to repeal the Affordable Care Act and weaken the office of the AG. Another change would be the addition of rules that would hurt efforts by Evers to create laws and protect the jobs agency from his control. The governor has 10 days to sign the legislation. Walker has indicated that he will support it. People took to Twitter to speak out and for the legislation. Senator Tammy Baldwin and the Manitowoc Minute's Charlie Behrens are among those against the bills, while Governor Walker and State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos defend them, saying that they are the right thing to do. A bill to move the presidential primary date from April to March was not advanced, meaning that the measure is most likely dead, but could still be taken up by either the Assembly or the Senate. The move would cost as much as $7 million.
So Taylor, what's going to happen when Tony Evers steps into governor?
Well, Owen, Evers says that this legislation is going to bring more lawsuits and gridlock. It is definitely a possibility because right now North Carolina is going through the same thing following their elections. Michigan is also considering a similar move.
Thanks, Taylor. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this as we head closer to Evers' inauguration on January 7th. The Federal Reserve says the number of farms filing for bankruptcy in the upper Midwest is up. It's common for market prices in the agricultural sector to drop from time to time, but in recent years those prices have been continuously dropping, with no sign of letting up. I had the opportunity to visit a farm that's feeling the financial strain not unfamiliar to many across the region. This dairy farm has been in the Hoffman family for 100 years. Family run with little outside help, the farm is home to over 400 dairy cows. Due to a combination of recent tariffs, a drop in income, and low market prices, Hoffman is now one of thousands of dairy and grain farmers feeling financially and emotionally stressed.
The toll that it takes on a family is something that you kind of can't measure because it used to be a hope and a promise to pass it on to another.
It's an emotional moment for Mary. Market dips that often only last a year are now entering their 4th or 5th year.
Not all of them are losing money. Some are doing okay, but it's not a happy years for everybody. There's some that are definitely under a lot of stress. I mean, there's been a lot of farm bankruptcies.
According to Hoffman, 3 years ago, a farmer could sell a calf for almost $400. Now, calves are worth next to nothing.
It has gotten so bad that the calves have become worthless. They're being killed instead of sold at auction barns because there's nobody there to buy them.
Overall, Hoffman's farm is doing okay. Her son Jeremy is hopeful for the future.
I'm an optimist. I think it's going to come back. I don't think it's going to come roaring back, I think the fundamentals of the industry have changed.
The state's economy is strong, and farmers who declare bankruptcy may be able to find another career, but it might not be in agriculture. There are 9,000 farms in Wisconsin. Many are experiencing a similar situation to the Hoffmans. The Eau Claire City Council passed a resolution to charge first-time offenders only $1 for marijuana possession. Voters in support of the legislation, either recreationally or medicinally, smoked the competition. With an 85% majority, only 15% thought it should remain illegal. A Wisconsin Public Radio report says the change is meant to signal that the city is making enforcement of marijuana laws a lower priority. Today is Michigan's first day as the first state in the Midwest to allow the recreational use of marijuana. Smoking marijuana is still illegal in Wisconsin, and if you're cited, you'll still have to pay the $148 in court costs.
Marijuana referendums from the Wisconsin midterm elections showed a majority of the state supports legalizing marijuana for either recreational or medicinal purposes. Governor-elect Tony Evers has supported a referendum to legalize recreational marijuana. Legalization is one of the issues the new administration plans on addressing in the upcoming term, which Governor Walker has strongly opposed. As Walker approaches his final days in office, one activist group is excitedly awaiting his departure. I went to the Capitol to hear how they're using music to spread their message. Solidarity Sing-Along has been protesting Walker and his policies every day since March 2011.
So it's been a roller coaster, but the last few weeks have been joyous.
The singers use songs in the Capitol Rotunda to voice their grievances and advocate for change.
It's brought a passion and an energy to try to save our state.
But this passion has had its consequences, especially during the 2013 police crackdown.
Basically, I was arrested for singing. I was handcuffed, taken to the basement. I was searched. They took my stuff away from me. It was an arrest.
So do these singers feel they've made a difference?
I don't know. I don't know if we're achieving our goals. I mean, we got them out.
Tony Evers prevented Walker from securing a third term in office, beating him in the midterm election by just over 1%. Solidarity activists will be attending Evers' inauguration.
For sure, we're going to sing one day after the inauguration, so we can say we lasted one day longer than Walker.
The singers will be at the Capitol for the rest of December and into the new year.
This afternoon, the nation officially says goodbye to former President George W.H. Bush as he's laid to rest in College Station, Texas. He's being buried next to his wife Barbara and daughter Robin at the George W.H. Bush Presidential Library. In place of flowers, the Bush family asked that donations be made to the George Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University. The 41st president passed away on Friday at the age of 94.
Finals week affects all college students. For many, exam prep involves late night at the library, lots of coffee, and hours of flashcard review. The Badger Report's Jonathan Mills went out and found resources on campus to help students manage some of the stress.
Many believe the holiday season is the most wonderful time of the year, but for students, visions of sugar plums turn into something else not quite as sweet.
The weeks leading up to final exams are some of the most stressful times of the year for students. The heavier workloads don't only affect grades, it harms physical and emotional health as well.
Arjun Rama is a staff psychiatrist at University Health Services and says UW is a place where college culture raises all types of expectations.
So it's like the same guy who's getting like a, 3.9 in a really rigorous major is also pushing themselves super hard on weekends.
With students trying to balance it all, UHS encourages Badgers to seek help. Sophomore Isaiah Denise says he was not as successful when he tried taking on finals week by himself.
The level of work was just more than I had anticipated or become accustomed to at high school.
Denise says UHS pushed coping strategies like deep breathing exercises last semester. Now, he plans on applying them. Unfortunately, UHS is just one of the many resources available. Dogs on Call is a pet therapy organization that coordinator Todd Trampy says is difficult to schedule this time of year, but is worth it.
While they may be stressed, especially this time of year with exams, just the opportunity for them to interact with dogs, because they miss their own dogs so much, it's remarkable.
At UW, finding good tidings during finals is a gift that all students can unwrap. For the Badger Report, I'm Jonathan Mills.
UHS has a list of resources that can be found on their website, uhs.wisc.edu.
On top of classes and exams, students also have to worry about making sure their apartments and dorms are secure before they leave for winter break. The Badger Report's John Sklar will have more on how to protect yourselves and your belongings after we come back.
But before that, this year's Bucky Tuition Promise recipients talk about how the new program has impacted their lives as they wrap up their first semester at UW-Madison. Next on the Badger Report.
As any current or former college student knows, paying for a higher education can be difficult to manage.
The University of Wisconsin-Madison's Office of Financial Aid has recognized the extent of the issue, especially for families who make less than the average household income, and created a program to help students focus less on their finances and more on their studies.
Just like so many college hopefuls, Ethan Heckler was both excited and nervous about navigating the college search. He was accepted to both UW-Madison and UW-Whitewater. Heckler was torn between the two as Madison was his dream school, but due to financial restraints, he had to decide between affordability and his preferred school.
I would have wanted to try and make Madison work, but as things had been looking, it wasn't going to be a very realistic choice, so I might have had to take a year off also.
Thanks to Bucky's Tuition Promise, Heckler is almost finished with his first semester at UW-Madison.
The program covers the cost of tuition and fees for freshmen who are Wisconsin residents whose family's annual gross income is $56,000 or under. This program allows students who would not otherwise be able to attend Madison to attend.
As a state university, it's very important that we provide higher education to anyone in the state who can be admitted here to UW-Madison.
The program has already significantly impacted the lives of many students.
I couldn't believe a college would be able to do something like that for one, or would be able to just, like a college this big, just being able to give so many students that kind of opportunity. I was speechless at the time.
We see all sorts of different reactions, all of them positive in the end. Sometimes at first there's disbelief, especially when we're talking about tuition being free and for a 4-year period of time for incoming freshmen. Families don't want to believe it at first.
The Bucky's Tuition Promise program will continue to help incoming UW-Madison students in the fall of 2019. For the Badger Report, I'm Jenna Webster.
2 UW-Madison professors are recognized by the American Association for the Advancement of Science for their contributions to science. Change Biomiom is an engineering professor acknowledged for the Association for his studies of material science. Donata Ortel is a neuroscience professor acknowledged for her research on cells. Eom and Ortel are 2 of 416 fellows elected to triple AS this year, which is the largest science society in the world.
UW-Madison discovery is in the top 4 for Science Magazine's Breakthrough of the Year award. The first round of voting for the award closed yesterday, and the university's very own ice cube, a detector covering 1 billion tons of ice in the South Pole, made it to the final round of voting. The detector is surveyed by thousands of light detectors and searches the sky to discover some of the universe's most extreme events. In 2017, IceCube sensed the crash of a neutron, a messenger of cosmic events that ended a 4 billion year journey to Earth that links back to a far-off galaxy in the Orion constellation called Blazar. The second round of voting starts today, and the winner will be announced on December 20th. Millions of pounds of raw beef in the U.S. are recalled because it may contain salmonella. The products, packaged between late July and early September by a Brazilian meat processing company, may still be in your freezer. The USDA urges you to throw them away to avoid getting sick.
As students prepare to head home for winter break, they'll be leaving their apartments and dorms for almost a month.
And if Home Alone taught us anything, we know while people are away, the burglars come out to play. The Badger Report's John Sklar has the story.
As Jamie Weintraub returned to his apartment last week, he immediately noticed something wasn't right.
Then I came in my room and I immediately saw that everything was out of sorts. All the cabinets were open, closets were opened, and it was very clear to me at that point that someone had been going through my stuff. And my PlayStation was sitting right on top of here, and it's gone.
The Langdon area has seen a recent increase in burglaries at fraternity and sorority houses, along with residential apartment buildings. In response, Madison police have begun increasing their efforts in keeping your belongings safe.
Generally, the Isthmus and college areas are heavily targeted anyway because students are vulnerable. You guys are, you're focused on your studies. You're younger in age, and we were all that age at some point, and you kind of don't expect, because you don't do things like that, you don't expect that of other people.
Detective Jacola mentioned that burglars will target packages left out on porches, along with broken screen doors. Meanwhile, Mark Lovicut, a spokesman for the University Police, mentioned a key tip that students can follow in order to protect their apartments over break.
If you know you're going to be out of town for a couple weeks because of winter break, make sure you contact your post office and stop the mail, because that's or the newspaper, because that's a sign that thieves are looking for. Where they see 8, 9, 10 newspapers out front. Well, of course, nobody's been home for 8, 9, 10 days. That's an opportunity for someone to get into your home without you even knowing about it and stealing your items.
For the Badger Report, I'm John Sklar.
Officials also suggest taking pictures of the serial numbers on your electronics so they're easier to track down if they're stolen.
Later on the Badger Report, a new membership that will help you get a jump start on your spring break body and won't break the bank.
And when we get back, Monroe Street is open again and business owners are welcoming customers through their door just in time for people to shop local during the holidays.
Holiday Cheer is open for business on Monroe Street this season.
Last Saturday, the Holiday Glow Street celebration was hosted by the Monroe Street Merchants Association to promote the local business on the street. The event was held to celebrate the end of a 10-month construction project that renovated the street. Local employees say that celebrations is a great way to kickstart sales lost during construction and to help shoppers find that perfect local gift, all while helping the Madison economy.
We have seen definitely a lot of appreciation for the street being done and people being relieved and able to get to us to do their holiday shopping.
It's how people get to where they want to go. So I think that people just enjoy the fact that there's a lot of small businesses on Monroe Street. It feels good. They like the community spirit.
Maybe the season of giving will get us into the holiday spirit. I know snow gets me excited for the holiday.
We've already seen a little snow and some freezing rain recently, so I'm wondering what else could be in store as we get closer to finals.
Our Jordan Hag is here to help us out with that. Jordan, what's the weather looking like this week?
Well, Lily, if for some reason you're loving this cold, you're in for a treat. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Well, it was a fairly chilly day with partly cloudy skies, a high of only 23 degrees and a low of 7 degrees. Tomorrow, temperatures will cool off even more with a high of just 17 degrees and a low of 9 degrees. But do expect to see some sun later in the afternoon. It looks like we'll have quite a bit more sunshine as well looking into the weekend as temperatures warm up on Saturday with a high of 26 degrees. Winds will be light as well, so the wind chill won't be a huge factor. Sunday, more of the same with a high of 27 degrees and a low of only 18 degrees. Looks like it won't be too long before those lakes freeze over.
It seems Mother Nature has decided not to cool things down too much just yet.
Yep, so take advantage of the nice weather while it's here and remember to stay warm and bundle up on the walk to those last few final exams.
Thanks, Jordan. Even though the cold isn't great, I'm excited for the lake to freeze over again. And with how cold it's been lately, the closest Wisconsinites can get to a pool is by playing billiards, which is exactly what some UW-Madison students did this weekend. Both novice and competitive pool players faced off in a tournament at the set at Union South. It was free for all students to enter the competition. Between munching on the complimentary popcorn and trying to psych each other out, the tournament was a fun way to hold off the Sunday scaries and procrastinate their schoolwork just a little bit longer. In the end, the top 3 in both the beginner and competitive divisions were named and given prizes.
A new fitness service has landed in Madison, one of the fittest cities in the nation. Many Madison area group fitness studios, such as Dragonfly Yoga, Cycle Bar, Camps, and Solid Core, have joined ClassPass. ClassPass allows fitness fans to schedule their workouts at a variety of different fitness studios without having a membership at each one. Taylor Bogenschitz, the studio director of Solid Core, says in the short time ClassPass has been in Madison, it has already increased business by bringing in new clients.
Our ClassPass a few times, and then I'd say maybe like a third of them are retained from our studio, like we'll buy a package or something.
I think it's good because it gives you the chance to try out all the different gyms that are offered in Madison.
Bogenschitz says people are encouraged to buy packages from studios they like because ClassPass punishes clients for going to the same studio over and over. You can buy a membership online at ClassPass.com. Monthly memberships start at $15 a month.
After the break, find out what Derek Tyndall has been up to in this new chapter after his life since UW-Madison.
I don't think you want that in there either, though.
It's been a crazy week for Wisconsin sports.
Our Jonathan Mills joins us to break down all of the firings and wins and losses from this week. Jonathan, get us up to speed.
Thanks, guys. The Milwaukee Bucks protected home court against the Detroit Pistons last night and powered past their conference foe 115-92. The win moves Milwaukee's record to 16-7 on the season. In other state basketball news, the number 12 Wisconsin Badgers continued their impressive start to the season with a 69-64 win over the Rutgers at the Kohl Center on Monday. Ethan Happ scored a game-high 20 points for UW, which is off to its best start since 2014-15 season. Successful athletic programs are not in short supply in Madison. Over the weekend, it was announced that the Wisconsin football team will face off against the Miami Hurricanes in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium in New York on December 27th. It marks Wisconsin's second time in as many years playing Miami in a bowl game. In the NFL, the highs and lows of the Mike McCarthy era officially ended in Green Bay on Sunday. Following the Packers' embarrassing 2017 home loss to Arizona, the team announced it had parted ways with the longtime head coach. Now offensive coordinator Joe Philbin takes over as interim head coach. Only 2 days later, the Packers cut associate head coach Winston Moss for a tweet attacking Aaron Rodgers that you can see here. He called out the number 12 and capped it off with #LosingSucks. So here's a story for all you Badger fans. Once upon a time, Derek Tyndall was a staple of one of the best Wisconsin defenses. While the former cornerback earned accolades for his on-field performance, Tyndall didn't get drafted and ended up unclaimed in free agency. But now Tyndall is just starting to unlock his full potential. The Badger Report's Noah Rubnitz has more on the story.
What's up, Hundy? Boone said. Hundy growled.
Former Wisconsin football player Derek Tyndall is turning the page to the next chapter in his life, literally. He is currently writing his first novel, Teletrius Johnson, The Beginning of the End, a story that draws from his friends, family, and personal experiences. Tyndall admits he didn't enjoy reading growing up, but his love for comics, cartoons, and the escape they provide him have helped him unearth this newfound talent.
It became football for me. I don't know why, but it's just my passion switched over to it so fast. And when I actually write the book, I get lost into it sometimes.
The book, which is geared towards teens, is still in its early phases, but Tyndall says he wants to inspire kids of all backgrounds and let them know that anything, even writing a book, is possible when you follow your passion. He plans to do this by giving today's generation a hero they can more easily relate to.
If these superheroes could deal with their stressors and stuff like that, these real life stressors ain't really nothing.
The same can be said in regards to the disappointment Tyndall faced during the draft process. But Tyndall says the experience was a blessing in disguise for him. He now sees that there is more to life than football.
I'm just thankful I had a chance to go to college to see that. Because if I'd never seen it, who knows, I could have been the same statistic.
And while former athletes aren't particularly known for having a way with their words, Tyndall says not to judge a book by its cover.
I don't think people are going to expect for me to do all I did in that book. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
For the Badger Report, I'm Noah Rubnitz.
As Tyndall says, that book is just the beginning. He hopes to give back to his community by starting a mentorship program that will teach today's youth about the value of education and the importance of following their dreams.
Wow, what a cool thing to be doing, and even better message. Since Tyndall and some of his graduating teammates left, the team has definitely been adjusting.
Jonathan, any other news on the Badger front?
The Badgers are filling up the headlines the past week as it was announced that UW sophomore guard Trevor Anderson would undergo season-ending knee surgery. He was from UW Green Bay and he sat out all last year, so that was a tough blow for him. But in a lighter note, former Badger defensive back Natrell Jamerson was picked up off waivers from the Green Bay Packers, so now he'll be scuffling back between teams, and it's glad to see that he finally landed a shot.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. In a few minutes, we'll get into the holiday season with a few events happening around town. We'll be right back. After the sun goes down, the zoo lights transform Henry Vilas Zoo into an illuminated winter wonderland. The lights brighten up the zoo from 5:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every weekend through the end of the month. The annual event features thousands of lights and displays, with new ones added this year.
Participants competing in the 10th annual Gingerbread Houses for Casa event found this year's competition bittersweet. For the last time, members of the community came together on Saturday to build gingerbread houses to benefit those who don't have city homes of their own. CASA, which stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates, are volunteers who help foster children going through the court system in the Dane County area and nationally. The gingerbread house building competition raises funds for child abuse treatment and prevention and lets some of the CASA kids vote on their favorite houses.
Wow, what a fun way to give back and help the community.
Well, this is our last newscast, and we'd like to thank you all for watching us this semester.
We've had a lot of fun bringing you the week's news and breaking down some of this fall's biggest stories.
From all of us here at the Badger Report, good luck on finals and happy holidays.